What is going on, guys? This is Bradley alongside Zach, and you are listening to the Charm City Sideline podcast. It's Tuesday, January 20th. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, hit the notification bell. We appreciate you guys for 1,000 subscribers. If we hit that a couple weeks ago, and now trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. So if you guys like what you're listening to, hit that button for us. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you'd rather listen to the podcast, feel free to go check us out on those platforms. Rate us 5 stars. Today, Zach, we decided to go live because there's kind of a lot of head coaching news that's going on, circulating around the NFL, not just with the Ravens, but there are, Mike McDaniel, Sean McDermott. There's Ravens are bringing in guys for second interviews, some other guys for initial interviews that we hadn't heard about yet. How are you feeling about, the current state of, I guess, this offseason so far, even though conference championships haven't even happened yet?
I know, right? The NFL year doesn't feel like it's over, but yet it's also getting started with the offseason. And it definitely warrants a nervous feeling of seeing these guys go off the board, like Saleh, like McDaniel, now just recently tonight. Like, those are names I think us as fans were confident in as potential finalists for this job. And seeing them go off the board is intimidating. That might mean the Ravens, went out and said, hey, we don't want you. You're not going to be a finalist. That might be you're out of time now, so pick the Chargers or pick the Ravens kind of thing. Like it really could be anything. But our options are slowly deteriorating, and it is a little eye-opening towards our situation where we might be waiting on someone like Kubiak to be done, with his stint in Seattle to make, a final decision. But right now, just seeing them drop one by one, it's intimidating, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, the McDaniel news kind of sucks. He was probably, like, in my top 5 of guys that I want to be the Ravens head coach. Also, if the Ravens were to hire a defensive head coach, which I hope they don't, but if they were to, McDaniel was a guy I would, be like, okay, at least they can get him as the OC. I feel a little bit better, at least for the time being. But no, he's going to be in Los Angeles calling plays for Justin Herbert. Obviously, that's a big upgrade for the Chargers, moving from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel. Like, oh my goodness, talk about an upgrade. So shout out to them. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh for realizing he needs to make a change, even though he should have seen what happened with Greg Roman in Baltimore and not hired him, but it is what it is. So cross off Mike McDaniel off your board, guys, unfortunately. The Buffalo Bills also made a move, firing their head coach, Sean McDermott. We've heard some reports that about 5 weeks ago, Sean McDermott met with Brandon Beane and Bills ownership and basically told them this roster is not good enough. It hasn't been good enough. And they did not like that. And they basically canned him after a divisional round loss. I'm curious to get your thoughts on, we'll get into how it affects the Ravens after. But initially, because this is a team that has been in the Ravens' way the past couple of years, how do you feel like this move impacts the Bills, and do you agree or disagree with it?
Ooh, Bills got to be a little more nervous, right? That ending to that tenure is a little more intimidating the way it went down with us and Harbaugh. That's a real headbutting of opinions, right? Like, as in the coach thinking, yeah, this isn't good enough, by the way, and the GM and I guess ownership saying, I'm pretty sure it is. So thankfully, as Ravens fans, we're seeing an owner and GM as in, hey, we really think we got the right roster. I don't think Bills fans would agree with their GM and owner as much as we agree with ours, as in having the capable roster to move on and be successful. So I'm feeling for him a little bit, but I'm just as nervous knowing that they're going to have another young mind or really talented guy leading their team, and with Josh Allen at the helm, we're going to see a new looking Bills team next year that is definitely going to be reeling and dealing to try and get to the AFC Championship and further. So just another team trying to push all the chips to the middle like the Ravens are, I guess, with their head coaching search too.
Yeah. Part of me, when I first saw the news, I was like, dang, like they're going to have a young offensive guy, maybe like the Ravens are going to have. But the more I think about it, I mean, Sean McDermott is definitely a good coach. I think he's a better coach currently, maybe not, when you look at their whole career, definitely not. But currently, I think he's a better coach than John Harbaugh. And I felt like when the Ravens played the Bills and lost to them a lot of times, I felt like the Bills were a better coached, more sound football team than the Ravens were. I agree with Sean McDermott. Their roster is not as good as the Ravens and hasn't been for a couple years now. They have a good O-line. They have James Cook. Other than that, like, I don't like too many players that they have on defense. Their weapons are not great. Like, I agree with McDermott, man. I think they fired the wrong guy, to be honest. Like, if they would have fired both, that's a respectable move. If they would have fired McDermott and Brandon Beane, that's a respectable move. I'd be like, okay, like they're doing a full reset. This is, if I were a Bills fan, I would not be happy about that. But Zach, how do you feel, if at all, this impacts the Ravens looking for a head coach?
I don't think the Bills head coaching opportunity does get in the way of what the Ravens want. Like, the Ravens feel like they can go defensive and it wouldn't hurt them as much as it would, the Bills going defensive. Like, the Ravens, I say hurt, but I mean as in an offensive guy on both sides seems like the answer. And if the Ravens were to not have their guy, let's say someone like McDaniel just walked out and that was their top candidate. If their defensive names that we're seeing in the pile, meaning Minter, meaning Shula, etc., those guys that we think are talented can probably get an OC that we're confident in. Maybe the Davis Webbs, maybe the Shieldhouses kind of guys. I feel more confident in the Ravens process, knowing there's another team like the Bills in the mix. You see the Steelers still in the mix, the Browns. I'm sure those two decisions are also very domino effecty / looming with the Ravens decision. So a lot of things that will add up in the next probably 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, I guess, to wrap all this up. But either way, I think the Ravens are still sitting pretty. I think the fact that we haven't really heard the Ravens, finalize their head coaching guy is because they're waiting on someone like Kubiak. And I think that gives a lot of us hope, hoping that that probably is their top choice as of right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the Ravens' job is still better because of how McDermott got fired. And with the Ravens, the head coach and the GM, like, Eric DeCosta will probably have more power, but it's not going to be like the head coach is way under Eric DeCosta. In Buffalo, Brandon Beane is like turning into a dictator over there. Like, I don't know how he managed to do that after having terrible drafts like 4 years in a row. But I just don't think it's a great situation over there. And honestly, I'm curious what Josh Allen thinks. And I wonder if they even talk to him. I don't know. But I honestly would have either kept McDermott or I would have fired the GM and the head coach. But anyway, that's that. So another head coaching opening, obviously, in Buffalo. 4 head coaches have now been hired. Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, has been hired by Miami. Kevin Stefanski has been hired by Atlanta. Robert Saleh, a guy a lot of Ravens fans liked, has been hired by Tennessee. And then John Harbaugh, obviously, is in New York with the Giants now. And we mentioned Mike McDaniel going to the Chargers as an OC. How do you feel about Harbaugh and the Big Blue, Zach?
Harbaugh and the Giants is like another language. It's nuts. All the interview today and seeing him, confident and happy, and even people talking to him and asking questions like, hey, would you have rather ran the ball that last play instead of kneeling? Just interesting things that he's still answering in his first day in the building with New York. Like, it just feels like, an ex kind of thing, like a relationship where you're just like, man, you kind of like hope the best for him, but also like if it ended badly, which it kind of did, then you really are kind of just watching them to make sure they aren't, doing better than you are right now. So that's as far as my eyes go with the Harbaugh relationship. But I think they'll be pretty good. I mean, the Giants look pretty good on paper as in a young group, and now a whole offseason. I mean, I'm I'm not afraid to say that I'm going to be kind of cheering for him a little bit.
Yeah, it's already like seeing John Harbaugh at a different presser with blue all around him. Like it feels weird. Like we've never even been a Ravens fan with a different head coach before. And like without even having a new head coach, we're seeing the head coach we're used to having with a different team. It's a weird situation for Ravens fans. But yeah, I'm wishing him the best too. So moving on, the Ravens have now interviewed 17 candidates for their head coaching job. Zach and I have covered 15 of them so far in our head coaching candidate review videos. You guys can go check that out in our videos tab on our YouTube channel. But there are two guys that we have not talked about yet. So we want to get those, cross those off the board. So we have covered everyone. Zach, one guy that they interviewed, I think earlier this week, a first virtual interview with Eric DeCosta, was Jags DC Anthony Campanile. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, like you said, Jaguars DC. He started as a high school coach, like, a handful of other guys, but he transitioned to Rutgers in 2012, going through a defensive assistant job to wide receivers coach. He's been on both ends. He went through some short stints with Boston College into Michigan, familiar college with, the Ravens and everyone now, as a linebackers coach. In 2020, he was hired as the Dolphins linebacker coach. Notable names in his tenure through 2023 include Bradley Chubb, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jerome Baker, Jalen Phillips, Landon Roberts, all of which were very talented guys in their time with Miami. I always remember the Andrew Van Ginkel, like crazy interceptions he'd have with Miami. Those were nuts. 2024 hired in Green Bay as a linebacker coach and run game coordinator. And then in 2025, he, I guess you could say, did get an upgrade going to Jacksonville, taking the defensive coordinator job. In 2025, the Jags defense third in EPA per play and sixth in success rate. The Jags defense looked good this year, and I wouldn't say it was all because of the roster and how it was constructed. I would give a lot of credit to someone like Campanile.
Yeah, I think he did a great job in Jacksonville this year. It's interesting that the Ravens just requested him, like he wasn't in the playoffs or anything.
True.
I am sort of interested by the timing of this, but I honestly can't think of a reason why, because it wouldn't be an upgrade for him to come as a DC if they were to hire an offensive guy, but who knows, maybe you'd rather be the DC in Baltimore than in Jacksonville. But I would be pretty surprised if this guy is a final candidate, but did a great job in Jacksonville this year. And I don't know if anyone saw that Hard Knocks clip of him talking to his team in a meeting. I think when he was in Miami, like, oh my goodness, talk about a motivator and a guy with a thick Jersey accent. Like Steve Bisciotti probably likes him a lot, or would like him a lot. So interesting there. Again, would be surprised if he is a finalist for the Ravens. The 17th and hopefully, honestly, final guy that the Ravens interviewed, or maybe have not even interviewed yet, but requested an interview, Broncos special teams coordinator, Darren Rizzi. He has a ton of experience. He's been at Colgate, New Haven, Northeastern, Rutgers, Rhode Island, coaching the D-line, defensive coordinator jobs, head coaching jobs, special teams. He has done everything. He came into the NFL in 2009 with the Dolphins, and he coached special teams there until 2016. And he was also an associate head coach from 2016 to 2018. And then 2019 went to the Saints and worked with Sean Payton to be their special teams coordinator and assistant head coach. He was actually there until last season, and then this year, Sean Payton took him back from New Orleans, and he's been working over there in Denver as the assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. We heard Jeff Zrebiec talk about Darren Rizzi on the collective, most likely trying to get some insight. Also, we have learned through the grapevine that Davis Webb is a guy the Ravens really like, and maybe he is someone that they would want to bring over if they did end up hiring Davis Webb as a head coach. So, there's no negative, no downside to talking to these people. And I would be even more surprised if Darren Rizzi was a finalist than I would be for Campanile. But you have any other thoughts on Darren Rizzi, Zach?
Yeah, my biggest note for him was what Zrebiec said on the Ravens Collective just, probably an hour ago, is what this possibly could be a smokescreen kind of a request of an interview. It doesn't really add up as a potential head coach. And I don't say that in a bad way, as in him and as a candidate. He seems like a very well-respected, great resume level coach. I just don't think the Ravens in any way would want to go back to a special teams minded guy and try this again. Great comment just from reading the first 3 words there from Sutton, Purple Rain Podcast. It doesn't really make any sense. I just don't understand this move. I would love to hear them actually talk about it as in, an insider and how it might be a special teams move. Maybe it's to see him as a potential, defensive guy. He has experience in all of that, whether from defensive line to defensive coordinator to head coach, through all that experience that you mentioned. So maybe they give him a little bit of a chance, to get in the door if someone like Minter doesn't have, a next guy in line for a defensive coordinator job. But I'm a little baffled by this one. Is that all right?
Yeah. I was actually, driving today and got a quick notification on my phone. And it was like, oh, surprising interview from Denver with the Ravens. And I was expecting it to be I don't know, some passing game coordinator or offensive line coach or maybe defensive backs coach there. And I was like, oh, special teams guy. I was like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd be surprised if he was a finalist. But yeah, maybe he'll be in Baltimore next year, one way or the other. So we'll see. But anyway, what we really wanted to talk about tonight is the fact that the Ravens are getting into their second round of in-person interviews. So for anyone that doesn't know, they had 17 virtual interviews that are on Zoom with Eric DeCosta, Ozzie Newsome, maybe Sashi Brown. And then starting this week, they are bringing in 4 or 5, maybe 6 guys, and each person sort of has their own full day in the castle, talking with Bisciotti, EDC, hopefully, Lamar Jackson. And this is when, the candidate gets to see the facility and, EDC and Bisciotti get to interact with him in person, along with Lamar and other guys in the front office. The guys that the Ravens, so far that we know of, have a second in-person full-day interview at the Castle in Owings Mills are Anthony Weaver, former Dolphins defensive coordinator, Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady, and Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. Anthony Weaver was there today. His in-person interview was Tuesday. Jeff Zrebiec mentioned that he is a real candidate. I guess they wouldn't have a second interview with someone that they weren't genuinely considering.
For sure.
And then also this could be a guy that is a Ravens defensive coordinator next season if they hire an offensive minded head coach. Jesse Minter, his in-person interview is tomorrow, Wednesday, with the Ravens. It is interesting because I know the Raiders are very high on him. I think a few other teams have interviewed him as well. And there is a chance, guys, that the Ravens hire Jesse Minter tomorrow. I would be surprised, but like that is a possibility because if he is their number one guy and they know for a fact that like they want him more than anyone else, they probably will hire him tomorrow. Um, so that could tell us some things if, it's Wednesday night at 11 p.m. and we haven't heard anything. We'll see. And then Joe Brady later in the week, probably Thursday or Friday, will be in Owings Mills. I guess we'll get into more depth with Anthony Weaver first, Zach. We talked about him a little bit off air pre-show. How do you feel about him being a finalist here?
Well, before this, we'd really dove into the stats, right? We wanted to go into another level of research to do with these candidates because the first time around, we got to tell you guys about, their background, where they've coached previously. And this time around, we dove into the stats. I don't want to provide all of them, but talking to people and fans of the Dolphins and asking about Weaver, it just doesn't seem like there is like a real connection as to why he's a top candidate for a head coaching gig. I think another defensive coordinator job sounds right. If that is with the Giants in Harbaugh, or if that is maybe with the Ravens based on the hire, like I guess I could see that. But going into the statistics of the Dolphins this last year, they are bottom 10 in the following 5 categories: opponent points per game, yard per game, points per play, yards per play, opponent touchdowns per game. And then bottom 5 in opponent fourth down conversion, yards per rush, rush yards per game, completion percentage, and yards per pass. That is really bad. And the Dolphins, we knew all year, had a really rough year. Even going back to me in the last offseason, thinking that they could be good. It seems like the team was pretty good on paper. A similar situation to what the Ravens had, but the right guy at the helm was the wrong guy for Miami, and I guess Weaver wasn't the right fit. I don't know if this is like you bring him in because he is the leader of men type, and if you give him a CEO head coaching type of role, then he thrives in that kind of situation, maybe just as exclusively a motivator, but also a defensive mind. I'm puzzled with this one because we were also on the train that was this is a back half candidate towards our eyes, but something obviously impressed them in the first round of it, and he's getting a second interview.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Out of all 17 candidates, Weaver is probably like 15th, 16th for me. Like he's not he wasn't my least favorite candidate, but he's very low for me. Yeah, you mentioned the Dolphins defense, not good last year, 27th in EPA per play, 31st in success rate. I mean, really just did not have a good year. And, like he wasn't even a good coordinator. So, like, I wouldn't even want him as the Ravens defensive coordinator, to be honest.
Not really. I wouldn't either.
Like, if they hired, Clint Kubiak and then Anthony Weaver's the DC, I wouldn't feel great about that hire as the DC. So I definitely don't want him as a head coach. I literally feel like Anthony Weaver is like John Harbaugh Jr. So I would not be happy about that. I hope it is not the move that they end up making. I think almost every single Ravens fan agrees with us. But I guess it's maybe a little bit of good news that nothing got done today, that he was there. But anyway, actually, let's just move on to stick on the defensive side. Jesse Minter, and also chronological order. He will be in Owings Mills tomorrow, visiting with the Ravens. Chargers went 11-6 in 2025, and the Chargers defense has just been very, very solid, and like their personnel is not good.
Right.
7th in EPA per play, 8th in success rate last year. Great stat pull from Zach. Number 1 in interception percentage this past season. Then they were top 10 in points per game, yards per game, red zone scoring percentage, and pass yards per game allowed. Just a very impressive unit flying around. Tony Jefferson had a great year for them. Like, Jesse Minter, I think, is close to, if not maybe, like the play caller that Mike Macdonald is. Like, I think he really is that good of a defensive play caller. Um, if the Ravens were to hire a defensive guy, like I said, I would not be happy with it. But if they were, Minter and Shula are probably tied for me. Um, I think I might trust Chris Shula a little bit more because of the tree that he comes from. But I wouldn't hate if the Ravens hired Jesse Minter, Zach.
And you mentioned a familiar face in Tony Jefferson. We can also mention someone like Odafe Owe, who we were seeing so little of, and his production with them just skyrockets. I forgot the stat you said. Yeah.
10 and a half sacks in 12 games with the Chargers after 0 in like 6 games with the Ravens. I mean,
that's unbelievable.
Crazy.
And impressive from, bringing in guys like Tony Jefferson, who you think have nothing left in the tank. You think trading away, I think, a former first rounder and Asante Samuel for them, maybe, and still getting a good enough group together. They only allowed the Patriots 17 points.
It was like 16-3 or something.
Yeah, it was a really good performance defensively.
Yeah.
So you can tip your hat to that. I'm not all the way in on Minter, because I would be so nervous about the offensive side of everything. But I think Minter, as a young name and as what his resume provides of the last few years, is impressive enough to put him into the top 3 for me. And I would probably welcome this. I think, again, my biggest concern is who he brings in on the offensive side. But as what he has shown in the 2025 year, I am very impressed from his stats. A couple of other categories that he excelled in, the Chargers excelled in, top 10 in allowing points per game, yards per game, red zone scoring percentage, and passing yards per game. Like, he, with the banged up defensive line, I think they lost someone like Khalil Mack for a few games, a lot of games, and still brought in someone like Owe and lost no steps. It was a very impressive year from them, given what they had to work with.
Yeah. So in the wild card game, the Patriots scored 16 points against the Chargers. And then in the divisional round game, in a snow sleet storm, the Patriots scored 28 points against the Texans defense.
Yeah,
which
really
is
good.
Probably the most impressive unit in the league. Maybe Seattle's better, but like that is very impressive to do that in a big game and limit the Patriots offense to 16 points. Very impressive. It's just, for me, guys, and I've talked about this so many times, I want continuity on the offensive side of the ball. If the Ravens hire a defensive coach, Lamar Jackson is going to have a carousel at offensive coordinator for the rest of his career. That's just the truth, and that's going to happen. And I don't think that is in the best interest of this organization and their Super Bowl aspirations. People are like, oh, Jesse Minter could bring in Cliff Kingsbury or, a great OC. Okay. And then they'd be the OC for 1 year and get a head coaching job. Or they'd be bad, stick around for 3 years, be here for too long, like Greg Roman, and then they finally get rid of him. And then still you have to adjust to a new OC. I think it's so much easier to find a defensive coordinator than it is to find an offensive coordinator. I love Jesse Minter. I think he's a great coach. I just think it's a disadvantage in this day and age to have a defensive-minded head coach. Actually, Zach, what are your thoughts on the whole offense versus defense thing? I know you're not in full agreement with me, but I think you kind of lean towards the same side.
Yeah, I have to lean offensive for the reason you just said. At max, if you get a defensive guy, at max, an offensive guy stays there 2 years, it feels like. No matter what, I'm going to take the Ravens. I'm going to bet that the Ravens in 1 of 2 years, even if it's the next 2, if it's the next 4, 6, whatever, they have a good coordinator in that stretch and go on a run. They'll probably lose that coordinator. Given, if a coordinator can make Lamar lethal in the run game again and move around, again, I'm not trying to bash these guys. It sounds bad. An aging Derrick Henry maybe advances Zay Flowers' game to another level of elite. I think a lot of teams are going to want that. And so I'd be interested to see who he brings in. I'd pique my interest. If I knew that he was going to get McDaniel, I would have been sold. I would have said, Minter, you are the guy. Even if, someone like McDaniel is only here for a year or two, I think that's a great start to your coaching tenure. So I'd feel confident. But again, an offensive mind, someone like Kubiak still being on the table as he is possibly the belle of the ball fully with McDaniel out, I think we still hold very high hopes to get him over someone like Minter, who is very impressive still.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And the third guy that we know of that has a second in-person interview with the Ravens is an offensive guy, Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. We talked about a lot of his history and where he comes from, LSU, Carolina Panthers, and our video where we reviewed all the head coaching candidates. If you guys want to go check that out. But Bills had a pretty good offense in 2025. They had a 12-5 record, top 3 in points per game, yards per game, third down conversion, percentage, red zone scoring, and touchdowns per game. Number 1 in rush attempts per game, rush yards per game, and rush touchdowns per game. James Cook had the NFL rushing title, I believe. And then top 3 in completion percentage, yards per pass, and then almost every single statistical category you can find. They were minimum top 10 in. Besides pass play to run play percentage, which they were the third lowest in the league, 50% of their plays. They ran the ball a lot. So that is something that the Ravens are used to. And Joe Brady is interesting because, first of all, he wasn't someone I expected them to bring in for a second interview. So I almost think we didn't go as in-depth as we would have in the first video if we knew this was going to happen. But, we can now. And Joe Brady was actually a guy, in September when the Ravens were, 1-5. I was like, I think this could be a great option for the Ravens at head coach. My issue with him is just the Bills' offense is very inconsistent. It feels like there are a lot of games where they just play really bad. Think about the Falcons Monday night game. That's one off the top of my head where it's just all game is just terrible. And obviously that can happen with anyone. The Ravens had that with Todd Monken sometimes. Obviously the Rams with Sean McVay sometimes score 13 points and it doesn't look pretty. But on the positive side, Joe Brady, guys, in my opinion, the game against the Broncos, divisional round, I think he called a wonderful game against the Broncos. They were down 13 at one point in the second half, and he stayed with the run game the whole entire time. James Cook, 24 carries in that one with 117 yards. Obviously, Josh Allen's 4 turnovers are not the play caller's fault. Because he's an offensive guy and because he honestly, in a big moment, it wasn't too much for him and he stuck to the run and stayed under center, play action, all those sorts of things. I would not be mad. I would not be mad if Joe Brady was the hire. He's also, guys, he's literally from Pompano Beach. Him and Lamar have the same hometown. And obviously that is going to play a role, especially if Lamar Jackson is there for the in-person interview. And he obviously is going to know that Joe Brady is from the same place that he is. What are your thoughts on Mr. Brady, Zach?
This seems like a pretty good match. And we've been critical of someone like Brady for the last couple months in the Bills as in a lethal scoring team, but their stats prove you otherwise. You mentioned a ton of great ones, number 1 in almost every rushing category and top 10 to 15 in every offensive category, period. They've got to do this questioning because of what's happened in Buffalo now. Brady just being a complete free agent OC is intriguing if you do go after someone like Minter and Minter brings in Brady. Think about a combination like that, or vice versa. Brady has a resume that speaks for himself. He has a pretty clean record, as in doesn't feel like the fans really go after him loudly, nor do the players. Like, they're never critical. Like, I've never heard Josh Allen really asked about Brady's play calling in a press game or post game presser. I'm just watching him very like intimidated, thinking, why did we start turning our heads away from him going through the year? That'd be my biggest question, maybe going back to those days where the Bills are struggling a little bit, what we can nitpick to see what went wrong. But other than that, I think the background and statistic-wise, he seems like a great fit. He seems like a great fit as in a guy that's going to relate to Lamar 100%, be in his corner and be his guy. He is probably in my top 3 as of right now. If it were to be Minter, Kubiak, and Brady, I would be happy with, I think, any of those 3. That's a pretty good match from any of them. And KP was talking about, screens kind of scare me away. Brady seems like he's going to use those type of guys. Like, the feed everybody type of offense that Brady has coined in Buffalo seems pretty good to me too. We have a very good wide receiver 1 in Zay, but we have yet to unlock the ability of someone like Mark Andrews the last few years and someone like Rashad Bateman the last couple of years. And giving more opportunities to them, as you can see with Buffalo and their tight ends being very good and very reliable every game for Josh Allen, that kind of connection rekindling between Lamar and Mark Andrews sounds very good to me. And whoever the tight end 2 is with them also being involved, again, sounds pretty good. I think we have a lot of faith in someone like Kohler or someone likely if they are back. So I'm very interested in Brady's name now that he did secure a second interview.
I agree. I just wasn't expecting him to get a second interview.
Me neither. Yeah.
And he's probably in my top 3 as well. Like, I don't know why Ravens fans are so critical of this. So I'm looking back at the Bills games this year. They scored 14 points against the Falcons. That was bad. They scored 13 points against the Dolphins. That was bad. They lost to Miami 30-13. We can all remember that one. And then they lost to the Eagles 13-12. That was week 17.
That was a weird game.
You have some of those. You also have 41 points against the Ravens. You have 40 points against the Panthers. You have 44 points against the Bucs. 39 on the Bengals, 35 on the Patriots. They beat the Patriots 35-31. And then also, guys, something that I kind of just realized, the Bills always play great on the offensive side of the ball against the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo. And the Ravens have really struggled with that, but Joe Brady and Josh Allen have not. The reason that the Bills continue to lose to the Chiefs is because of their defense. And Joe Brady has success against Steve Spagnuolo, and the Ravens never have. So that's something to think about as well. I don't know, man. I would not be opposed to Joe Brady. We'll see how the in-person interview goes. It'll probably be on Thursday or Friday. And Lamar would probably love him too. He's 36 years old, from the same area as Lamar. He was a wide receiver at William and Mary from 2009 to 2012. Spent some time there, and then Penn State as a grad assistant, New Orleans, offensive assistant, and then 2019 LSU with Joe Burrow. He was their passing game coordinator, and he was Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase's wide receiver coach at LSU. OC with the Panthers 2020, 2021. That was sort of what we look back as not a great tenure. But then he's been with Josh Allen since 2022 as the quarterback's coach. And then 2023, they fired Ken Dorsey mid-season, and Joe Brady takes over as the offensive coordinator. Get ready for this, guys. 2023 Buffalo Bills, second in EPA per play, second in success rate. 2024, second in EPA per play, and ninth in success rate. And then 2025, third in EPA per play, second in success rate. So talk about consistency, talking about not having a down year. Like, he didn't get, figured out after a year or two in Buffalo. They are still a top 3 offense in this league. And with him being on the offensive side of the ball and working with Lamar Jackson, I would like this move. I honestly would.
It's weird that it's weird to compare the teams in two very good, obviously super good quarterbacks, two super good running backs. And then the weapons is where it kind of starts having a different conversation. Offensive line, too.
Yeah.
Like, where the Bills were struggling a little bit in the wide receivers, they were getting, they had to ask of someone like Brandon Cooks to start giving them explosive plays by the end of the year. I think the Ravens continue to build on that group every year now. That someone like Bateman and Zay are growing still. And also guys like Wester now being involved potentially. Someone like
Tez.
Yeah, Tez. Tez would be a great one. Like, even with the offseason and a potential draft pick involved in all of that, it sounds pretty good to me. And again, I think there's not really a ton of reasons to look away from Brady as a candidate besides, I guess a rough start and also I guess a lot of people in chat not really loving it as in
I know, yeah. I don't
potential candidate, but hey, I'm open door to Joe Brady. Like, if his interview were to go really well, like to impress someone like Bisciotti impresses me very much. And as a 36-year-old head coach, that would be very fun.
I agree. I would Joe Brady's definitely one of the guys that I am hoping for, to be honest. So those are the 3 guys that have in-person interviews this week: Joe Brady, Jesse Minter, Anthony Weaver. Now, Zach, let's get into some guys that we are hoping, do see a second interview with the Ravens. So there are a lot of guys that are still coaching playoff teams that the Ravens cannot talk to this week. Seahawks OC Clint Kubiak. You got Rams DC Chris Shula, Rams passing game coordinator Nate Scheelhaus, and then you have Broncos quarterbacks coach Davis Webb. Those are all guys that the Ravens are interested in, and they cannot talk to until next week. Win or lose, they can talk to them next week because there's a bye before the Super Bowl. So they could bring them in next week. Obviously, if they lose, though, they could make the hire next week. If they win, they can't officially hire them until after the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on those 4 guys, Zach?
The longer this all goes, the more likely it is Kubiak. And that's a good thing towards most of us. I think most of us have him as a top 3 guy. And the other teams, though, someone like Shula also, someone like Davis Webb now being a potential name to watch as his name continues to go up the charts. I'm just intrigued with how long this all takes as the Ravens, who said it today? Schefter said something about how the Ravens always take a long time in the draft. And it's how it can be compared to what they're doing right now.
They just let the other teams make bad decisions.
Yeah. And maybe that isn't bad decisions more than, guys that they're just not interested in. And I guess that can be both ways. But the Ravens are going to sit on their hands until they really have made the decision they're confident in. And again, the longer that goes, I think it is someone like Kubiak as the top guy. And especially if it is him as a top guy, considering him as a real candidate by the end of whenever his season is. Like, you still have to give him a whole day to go through the facility, get, really interrogated by Lamar, Bisciotti, and DaCosta. Like, there's going to be another gap from when we learn who that head coach is, depending on, when this whole season ends. So it's going to be a lot about patience, even though I do totally feel what most fans were feeling today when these names are getting dropped and especially with the McDaniel one, that, all these guys are kind of dropping like flies. Did the Ravens tell these guys, like, I'll see y'all, or you don't have to be here, we don't think that you're a top candidate for us? Or is it more of you're running out of time? I think the guy that they want the most is the guy that's also going to stick it out the longest. So if these candidates are also waiting, as there is still what, 7 jobs still available?
Something like
7?
that.
7 jobs still available, and they're still not being filled out. Like, the longer it all goes on, including, offensive coordinator jobs, defensive coordinator jobs, I think there's reason to be excited as much as there is nervousness. So I'm trying to combat that with the hopeful feeling that our guy is still going to be there at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Steve Bisciotti said they're going to bring in 4 or 5 guys. You'd probably lean to 5 for second interviews. They're at 3 right now. If there was anyone else that wasn't still coaching, they would have already scheduled to bring him in. So that tells you that out of these 4 guys, Kubiak, Schulhouse, Shula, and Webb, most likely 2 of them are going to have an in-person interview next week.
Yeah.
So that's intriguing. This is a great comment from Artavius. Great comment. If Jarrett Stidham plays well and the Broncos win, yeah, because Davis Webb is the Broncos quarterback's coach. If he helps get Jarrett Stidham ready to go and he has a good game, even if they don't win, that would be a great look for him.
Who was the OC for Nick Foles? Do you remember?
When they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
What year was that? 2017? Frank Reich.
Okay.
And he got a Colts job.
Yeah. If he's gonna get a job if he wins, like they'll definitely. This is live. Hey, what's up, Matt Rasta?
What's up, Matt Rasta?
Like, I totally agree with Martavius. If Stidham plays well, like it's locked down that Webb will get a head coaching job. It just depends where. That'd be a really fun pick again. Seeing him and his relationship with Nick's in that devastating news that
I know,
somehow got a picture of in the locker room. Like,
yeah,
you really start to appreciate someone like Webb more being a true player's guy. If Lamar had a relationship with a coach like that, that seems incredible. That seems like another case of the right fit.
Yeah, I think
that's a great comment.
I think Davis Webb could form a wonderful relationship with Lamar Jackson. I think he's only 1 year older than him, and I think could also be a guy. Would also be a guy I think that calls the plays on offense. He has not been a play caller in the NFL, but he has called plays in preseason games for the Broncos. I know some coaches allow other guys to call plays in the preseason, and Davis Webb I think did that this August for Denver. So he does have some experience, obviously not as much as you would hope for, but like just like what he's done with Bo Nix, and I've heard things about how when he was still playing quarterback in the NFL, he was basically like a coach on the roster, kind of similar to what we saw from Josh Johnson when he was here in Baltimore working with Lamar. Like, I just think Davis Webb is going to be a guy that is going to be a head coach soon. And it might not be this season, but if you want to get him and if you like him a lot, like, you could go for it. So Nate Schulhouse and Davis Webb, right? Both don't have play calling experience, at least in the NFL. Schulhouse did some of that at Iowa State, I believe. So I understand why someone might be nervous about Schulhouse or Webb. But we've heard Steve Bisciotti talk about taking risks, and you need to take risks to be successful. And I think Nate Schulhouse and Davis Webb, I think hiring one of those guys would be taking a risk, and it'd be a risk that I would be on board with. And we have seen multiple head coaches take a job. They hadn't called plays before. Mike McDaniel didn't call plays for the 49ers. and he takes the Dolphins job, and now everyone thinks he's a genius. So like that is part of it too. Um, Comment from Mad Rasta: what is Webb good at? What makes him exceptional?
Let's go through, his background really quick.
Yeah, you can do it.
Davis Webb, pass game coordinator / quarterback coach for the Broncos right now. 6-year NFL vet as a quarterback. That was technically as a backup for most of the time. Zrebrick called it today on the Collective that his expertise within that 6-year period as a quarterback on teams was to bring him in as a technical quarterback coach, another level of quarterback coach to the team that he was on. He's been there as a QB coach since 2023 and now has shifted to the next level, which would be quarterback coach and passing game coordinator. I think what he's exceptional at is creating this incredible player to coach dynamic, which is someone like Nix. I think a lot of credit is given to someone like Sean Payton for, of course, finding someone like Webb to do this, but also the fact that Bo Nix coming into the NFL was a shaky player. He didn't seem like he had all the tools necessary to succeed in the NFL. And now by his time, if he was healthy right now, I think the Broncos would be looked at as maybe the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Mostly because of someone like Bo Nix and his shift. I think that Webb doesn't have a lot of expertise as a coach, but looks like 8 or 9 years in the NFL now, and someone like Sean Payton and lots of others in the NFL are noticing how his impact has affected these winning teams now. It seems like he's definitely in the mix as, like Kwame just said, an offensive coordinator potentially, but also as a head coach eventually. He's going to be a head coach at some point in his life. I just think that it does sound a little intimidating when you talk about a 30, 31-year-old head coach brought in to lead a lot of guys to a Super Bowl. It sounds like someone said earlier, like it sounds scary, like a project. Like it sounds like we're, cashing in on the next 5 or 6 years and hoping by that time we've won a Super Bowl, hopefully by the end of that. So maybe the Ravens think about it like that too, that he is a project level coach and thinking that the next 5 or 6 years, with how good this roster looks already, that a very player-oriented guy that also has a great mind for the game can just provide the next push to winning a Super Bowl. So I don't know. I'm not fully in on Webb, but there is something intriguing to him that everyone's noticing right now.
Yeah.
As in NFL level guys.
Yeah, and that was very well said. And I just think, what is the exceptional at? Like having an amazing relationship with the quarterback. And like that is so important. Literally,
Priceless.
like Steve Bisciotti and Eric DeCosta talks about, like that is almost their number one priority is to like maximize Lamar Jackson. And having someone that can form a relationship with him and like also be a great offensive mind. And like this guy's played quarterback. Like he has played quarterback recently. Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he was a quarterback in the NFL. And I would trust him. Maybe he's going to call plays, maybe he's not. But like as a head coach, guys, like this is what I'm talking about. I want the head coach of this football team. Their number one priority is Lamar Jackson. And I know like a lot of comments are disagreeing with us. Zach and I's number one is Clint Kubiak. That is who we want the most. We agree with you guys. We are just saying that Davis Webb, I think it'd be a solid move, and I think it'd be a bit of a risk. And like, how do you know Davis Webb isn't a genius coach? Like, there's no way to know that he's not. Like, he probably is based off what we've seen him be able to do with Bo Nix. And like you mentioned, he's quarterback coach and a pass game coordinator right now, handling both of those roles. Working under Sean Payton, we know Sean Payton expects a lot from him.
Great coach too.
I would be fine with Davis Webb if they hired him. I would not be mad. This might be a crazy take, but I would rather have Kubiak, Shieldhouse, Webb, and Joe Brady over any defensive candidate.
Ooh.
That's how important I think it is to have an offensive-minded head coach in this day and age, and I like all of those candidates. I think I think all of them would be a good fit.
And to just add another note to the whole like project coach / genius to help us out right now, I'm not 100% sure that us as fans as well, hopefully can admit this, that next year we're thinking Super Bowl or bust. And that's almost hypocritical of us because of what we said with someone like Harbaugh
Yeah.
and what the mentality we want is. Like, we want to win no matter what. We want a chance to go to the playoffs. I totally think that whichever coach we bring in next is going to provide that chance. But also, if you don't necessarily push all your chips into the middle, and I mean all your chips, maybe selling out for a high game wrecker like DaCosta likes to call them, for making these very aggressive moves in order to pursue a championship. Like, if we have to wait 2 or 3 years to see a maximum level Ravens team, I think it's okay to say that we're going with a quote unquote project coach for the next few years. If that means Lamar Jackson stays here for the next 3 years and continues to pursue a championship, if that means defensive guys that we bring in, hopefully someone as talented as Mentor, but I don't think he's going to, up and leave LA with how good they look right now. Like, there has to be the right storm of things to happen from relationship with Lamar Jackson and then down. And I think it might take a couple of years to perfect that relationship. They could go into these interviews and Lamar might just be, blown away with someone like Brady and blown away by Webb as how they want to connect with Lamar and the rest of this team. But again, if it takes 3 years to do this, someone like Bisciotti is quoted saying in that press conference that they're probably giving this head coach 5 to 6 years in order to prove themselves as a capable coach to get this job done. So in a way, we're not saying that these guys were very, content with getting a project coach, but I believe in the fact that if we chose a project coach, that we're still going to be very aggressive with how we handle the Ravens and pursuing a championship.
Yeah, and I don't think Davis Webb or Nate Schulhouse would have a super rough first year either. I think those guys are really good coaches. Nate Schulhouse has been under McVay for a couple of years. McVay wanted him on his staff. He's keeping him on his staff. He's promoting him on his staff. He's obviously a great coach. And I know some of you guys in the chat are talking about right now, let's see if they can call plays first. These guys, Davis Webb and Nate Schulhouse, they're getting multiple head coaching interviews where they're at right now. So there's no benefit for them to leave their situation and go be an OC somewhere else if they're already in a spot that they like, under McVay, under Sean Payton, with Bo Nix and Matthew Stafford. There's no reason to move to a different team and be an offensive coordinator if they're already in a spot that they can become a head coach. So if you really like this guy, you have to hire him. You got to make the move. Another comment, super chat from Mad Rasta. By the way, we really appreciate the super chats. So thank you for that. Main issue to me is the roster. We just need a coach that helps us beat Bills, Chiefs, and Steelers. I agree. And honestly, that's kind of why I mentioned that about Joe Brady, how he's had a lot of success against Kansas City on the offensive side of the football. That's definitely notable. We obviously don't know anything about the other guys because we haven't seen them call plays against the Chiefs. But, when I look at the Ravens' playoff failures, AFC Championship against Kansas City, I look at the Buffalo game in the snow. I look at the Buffalo game in 2020. They lose playoff games because they struggle on the offensive side of the ball. The Ravens haven't lost a playoff game 41-38. Their defense has struggled in the regular season, no doubt. But when we talk about the biggest moments and, getting it done when you need to most, the Ravens have come up short and made a lot of mistakes on the offensive side of the ball in big playoff games. And, a lot of people are saying oh, we need to fix the defense first. That's not what has been the issue in the playoff games. And that the playoff games are what's keeping the Ravens from getting over the hump. So that's, another reason why I'd be in favor. But like, I agree with your comment, Matt Rasta. You got to beat the Bills and the Chiefs, like, and probably now like the Patriots, because they're probably going to be there for a while. Like, these are the teams that you got to beat, and you got to have a coach that's going to find a way to do it.
Yeah, a lot of teams, just AFC side, period, that are going to be involved in all this stuff. That's going to be a lot to handle.
I really like Martavius' comments, man. Because I agree with you. I'd rather bet on an unproven young offensive coach than the defensive guys. 100%, man. 100%.
It goes back to what we said with someone like Harbaugh. Harbaugh's going to, be the leader of men and get the most out of, most of those guys in the locker room. But when we were sitting here in early December, November, talking about the dream of a different guy at the helm that was on one side of the ball fully coaching the offense, calling plays on the offense, fully coaching defense, calling plays on defense. We're getting that guy no matter what in who we pick now, unless we, get really, shocked by this Rizzi pick. But other than that, all these guys right now are being brought in to excel at one side of the ball fully. And there's reason to be confident in that. We can go back to what they were talking about in the chat about, these teams, the good teams, technically, the good teams as in the Bills, Steelers, Ravens have waited right now to get their guy. And these other teams, you're still seeing high caliber names go off the board. John Harbaugh, McDaniel, Saleh, Stefanski, I would say. All four of those guys being quality candidates leaving in that first time just means that they either wanted the security of that job, they really did like the look of that job, or they got shut down by these good teams. It's not necessarily panic by bad teams or good teams. Like, it might not be the Ravens waiting, or rather than just the Ravens waiting because that's how the NFL is usually ran. Like, I think usually the head coaching decisions aren't made immediately after following detrimental playoff losses each time. They're usually post Super Bowl when all that news comes out, because the good coordinators are gobbled up right after that. So again, it's a little patience in how the Ravens operate all this, including the other teams. Like, you have to start going up against these Bills and Steelers teams now to show that you are the better destination of a head coaching spot. They're whether it's Weaver, Brady, who was the other one that we talking about? Minter. Tomorrow. Like, they're all going to be shown the same stuff. It's not like when Kubiak gets here, we're going to open this special door and say, hey, dude, actually, this looks pretty cool, doesn't it? We didn't show this to anyone else. It's the same job given to each of them. Like, there's nothing else to hide. Everything's going to be questioned. So the Ravens are just being very philosophical about this and handling it the right way. It's not to say that these other teams that have picked their coaches now are handling it the wrong way. They found their guys. Like, no offense to the Dolphins. Dolphins weren't going to get a premier head coach candidate. Like, they had to go after one of these guys that just wanted to be there, and someone like Halfley. So I think that the Ravens do have the luxury of that, but there's also a few other teams that they're going to have to start fighting against.
Yeah, I agree that, like, in terms of the other guys getting hired right now, like this comment from Kwame, like, I agree with you. Like, there's no rush. Like, the Ravens have the best job.
No rush.
They have the best job. They don't need to rush into anything. And then there was 3 comments in a row from KP that I thought were really, really good. Ravens literally have a reputation for having a great defense majority of their existence without a defensive head coach, so that's why I'm not as worried about defense. Zach Orr was so bad that it has people wanting to overcorrect with a defensive head coach. On the flip side, the Ravens only had a few years of good offense, excluding the Lamar era, so I think that should be the focus. Like, taking the words out of my mouth.
But doesn't it go both ways though too? Like, I agree with you that an offensive guy in any of the guys we've talked about would be so nice to have for Lamar's side. But the anxiety-driven side of the defense in not having the right guy from Zach Orr in that experience that it does burn you really bad. Those guys in the locker room losing a little bit of faith, not seeing, a great defense being output onto the field, like it is a little concerning. And there's definitely a stand to be made that a defensive guy would definitely help. Like if you have a very, very solid defense for a Ravens offense that we're seeing be as good as it is the last few years, like I think that sounds really good. That sounds like a really, really balanced attack that is very good on both sides. There's just pluses and minuses for both sides that intrigues me the most. Like I do lean, since it is, the face of our franchise, you got to lean with Lamar Jackson, but a defensive guy, a very, very good defense for the first time in I don't know, since McDonald.
Yeah.
Like that sounds really good to me.
I know. Yeah. Like I understand. Like if the Ravens can allow 16 points in a playoff game, I mean, but they've done that. They've done that already. Like they allowed 17 against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship.
Yeah,
but like, maybe you try to get another shot at it. I don't know, but like that is fair. You could go into a playoff game with Jesse Minter as your head coach, and he shuts down the offense, and all you have to do is score 2 touchdowns, kick a couple field goals, and you're advancing. Like that's definitely possible. Who's going to be the offensive coordinator, right? Like
think about how nice it would be if Minter and the number 1 interception to, pass percentage, like is there forcing turnovers in the playoffs for the first time in Lamar's career.
Yeah.
How awesome would that be?
Yeah. 100%. And like, I don't know. I think it could definitely be interesting. It's just like, I think it's so much easier. I'd be, so if the Ravens hire a defensive coach, I will be so nervous about who the OC is going to be. If the Ravens hire an offensive head coach, I'm not going to be that worried about who the defensive coordinator hire is. Yeah. And like that just kind of tells us what matters more. Like, I don't know if you guys feel any differently, but like, that's how I would feel. I guess, Zach, maybe it would be fun to like give our new top 3, because everything's changing. We're continuing to learn more and more. Who is your, not what you think the Ravens would do, your favorite candidates, your top 3, as we get a super chat. Appreciate it, Douglas Kubiak.
Douglas, well said. I think Kubiak is our number 1 for both of us. But someone like Joe Brady has got to be in this list for me now. There's too many good reasons to not have him on there. A Florida connection is going to hit very hard to someone like Lamar Jackson. Lamar's going to go to bat for someone like that, just regardless of anything else. Who was it a long time ago that in the draft, like there was some guy from Florida and he was like calling him about that? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Was it Tank Dell?
Maybe. That might be. It might be. There was some wide receiver, not a big name.
He was like telling the Ravens to draft him. Yeah.
But yes, like calling DaCosta and saying it's it's a Florida guy. I know him. Like, I think there's something to be said there with Brady. And I think Kubiak, Brady, Minter, probably in that order, 1 to 3.
Kubiak, Brady, Minter. Okay. My top 3 would probably be Kubiak, number 1. Number 2, I think, would be
comment yours in the chat. Everyone's making fun of Joe Brady pick. Comment yours. I want to hear y'all's too.
I think my number 2 would be Joe Brady. And I think my number 3 choice would be Davis Webb. I'd be excited if they hired Davis Webb. And then very, very close number 4, Nate Scheelhaase. Nate Scheelhaase versus Davis Webb to me are like, they're basically tied.
Basically the same.
Yeah. I'd be pretty excited with both of those guys. Honestly, like, if I'm going to be completely honest for me, guys, it's like Clint Kubiak is number 1. And then low key, Joe Brady, Nate Scheelhaase, and Davis Webb are all kind of tied right after. But Clint Kubiak Clint Kubiak is by far my number one choice. I mean, the performance that they put up against San Francisco in the divisional round, 41 points.
You gotta
Kenneth
be
Walker
kidding
was
me.
running wild. Clint Kubiak, man. I am concerned that I don't know. Are you
I'm not gonna
concerned?
lie to you. I see, even though he did just put up that level of performance as in a coaching job, I think that it's slowly creeping up. The guys like Mentor, Brady, the gap is closing from where
Yeah.
I think both of us had it, where it was like Kubiak is above everyone else, like number one, and the next closest is like a 10. Like, I think it's slowly gotten up to the 3 or 4 range as time's just gone on, and you're seeing the Ravens a little more confident in someone like Mentor and Brady bringing them in. So maybe
I
just
would.
that's in my head too.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there still is a gap after Kubiak, but like Brady, Shieldhouse, and Webb, I would be fine with. Um, After that, Minter, I wouldn't be thrilled just because of the defensive side, and then Anthony Weaver, I think we all will be crying. So that would not be good. But
Right.
and then I guess like who would you predict are there 2 other interviews, Zach?
Ooh. Let me go to my list here.
I am kind of
Because
concerned that it's not
thinking
going to that Kubiak is not getting a second interview. I'm like kind of concerned.
Yeah, Mad Roster just dropped that. Someone like the Bills could be interested. Yeah, that'd be scary.
Like
Webb's not ridiculous. I mean, I think
Webb is going to get a second interview.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it feels more like a layup now.
And then I think it's in between Kubiak and Shieldhouse.
Yeah, it could be. That's what?
5.
Is that only one defensive guy though?
Mm-hmm. No, Weaver 2. That'd be 2 defensive.
Oh, yeah. All those awful stats we read off. I mean, come on. I don't know. I'm hoping that it's just like, hey, Weaver, save the date, buddy. We might bring you as a DC if we get one of these really good offensive minds,
But I don't want Weaver as a DC.
I know. That's still. I just hope they're just keeping him right there. Like, hey,
their defense was
maybe.
bad.
I was hoping that it was to get more information about McDaniel, like to see if they would really be interested in him. So apparently if McDaniel does get the head coaching opportunity he wants, barring, that kind of a setback, like that would be the only way he doesn't take the Chargers job. I'm assuming that is the Ravens or Bills, but I don't know if he's going to get that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I agree with Douglas here, like the Bills job is not the Ravens job. Like they have a power issue going on there, and I think the ownership is not great. And I think a head coaching candidate and his agent would know that and understand that. Obviously, as we've seen with Stefanski and Saleh, if the Ravens aren't showing intense interest, they will take another job. So I do think if we see the Bills hire someone before the Ravens, probably because the Ravens didn't want them that badly.
I wish that, like, selfishly, I wish that the Seahawks had already lost.
And I know.
A lot more dominoes start falling because I'm sure that's a massive one. Kubiak seems to be the first guy in for all of these interviews for all these teams. Man, I just wish
Kubiak is going to have a busy week next week. Oh my goodness. Like, imagine how stressful that is. You're preparing for like a playoff game or a Super Bowl, and you're also preparing for interviews to go try to be Lamar Jackson's head coach next year. Like, oh my goodness.
Unbelievable.
That is crazy. Ravens fan CJ, my question is, how does Zach Taylor still have a job? After all of this, I think it's like since 2022, there are 2 out of 16 AFC head coaches still active, and it's Andy Reid and Zach Taylor.
Oh my gosh. What?
So
unbelievable.
I can't believe he's still there. The Bills
It
owner,
does
like,
make me.
I mean,
It makes me. Sorry, what were you gonna say? There is some continuity in the AFC North, just a smidge. You know, I'm kind of like, okay, we're gonna see one familiar face. Like, I'm half nervous about the Browns hire. I'm half nervous about the Steelers hire. Like,
I'm not nervous about the Browns hire. Who in the hell wants to go coach that team?
I would have said that for a handful of these jobs right now, but hey, some of them have been taken
like,
too.
If I was a rising coordinator or even like a quarterback's coach, if the Browns offered me their head coaching job, I would not take it. I wouldn't even interview with them. I would not even interview with them.
It doesn't sound like there's a lot of interviews happening for them.
Yeah, that's they probably are struggling to get people to agree.
We're
going to interview McDaniel, or did they interview McDaniel? I don't know.
They did, but McDaniel withdrew his.
Yeah, he was like, "Hell no, I'm not doing that."
Yeah,
like, so I'm not concerned about the Browns head coach. They're probably just going to have to promote Jim Schwartz, to be honest. I don't know what else they're going to be able to do.
Seems like,
unless they hire like a Division II college football coach. But like, yeah, also the Raiders. But like, the Raiders will be able to get Mendoza. And like,
Raiders I think doesn't look that bad.
I think Tom Brady's involvement helps out too.
Tom Brady saying that he wants you to coach their team. That's got to help.
Yeah, but they have struggled to have, like, when was the last time the Raiders had a long-term head coach? When actually was that? Like, were we born yet?
I only remember up to like Gruden, and Gruden wasn't that long. I don't remember anything before that.
It is going to be weird. The AFC North is going to be weird next year. It's going to be fun when we have all 3 of these guys. We know who they're going to be. But I don't think the Browns should have fired Kevin Stefanski. I don't think the Dolphins should have fired Mike McDaniel either. I mean, I don't think Jeff Hafley is a good hire.
That's odd.
But also, like, who were they going to... They weren't going to get Saleh.
If someone like Tomlin could step down, you could have seen either one of those two also step down to, like...
Who?
As in McDaniel or Stefanski step down. I don't know what their contracts were like, but if it was the end of their time, you know?
Yeah. Dude, actually, I think Mike Tomlin might be, like, done. Like, forever. Crazy. I think he might be, like, done. I've seen a couple reports, and
he wants to do TV, right?
I don't know. I have a couple of friends who are Steelers fans that are like, it kind of feels like he's not going to coach again. Which I would respect that a lot, honestly. Like,
go out on top.
Yeah.
As in most seasons,
never having a losing record.
Yeah. That's going out on top. There you go.
He beat. Did the Steelers sweep the Ravens this year?
Yes.
He did. Last year of his career, he swept John Harbaugh and made the playoffs. So, there's that. Anyway, any other final thoughts you had?
I don't think so. I'm so excited to see these other 2 for the final.
Nervous.
Or maybe 3. You never know. Like,
I
just want more news. I honestly just want the season to hurry up. I want, what is it, February 9th?
What, the Super Bowl?
February 8th. I want February 8th to be done already. Like, as much as I love the playoffs, I'm just sick of it. And I just want a head coach more than I do.
I'm not.
Football. Like, I'm
not
just
sick of it.
I'm ready to get that news. It's just so much nerves built around it and how the offseason will look with that new guy.
I'm like actually so nervous.
Yeah.
About who this is going to be. But yeah, we appreciate you guys for sticking with us for an hour and 20 minutes. Shout out to Mad Rasta, Kwame, Ravens fan CJ, Douglas, MN10NM.
Ooh, Mad Rasta with a little super chat. Who do y'all want us to draft? I just want to put this out there because I've had this thought for a very long time. I have some family that graduated from Clemson. Shout out Clemson. I want the D tackle for them, Peter Woods. That'd be awesome if Matabike isn't back. Besides that, repping my Indiana Hoosiers today, I would kill a baby animal to get one of reaction to get one of IU's wide receivers. I think all of them are very talented, and all of them would very much contribute to the Ravens offense off rip. I'd feel very good about that. If you want my 2 cents, that's also a little biased for the IU one, but as in Clemson, just go look up freaking Peter Woods highlights right now. Unbelievable. CJ, I'm leaning towards Surratt rather than Cooper, but I would take either.
I have not done a ton of draft stuff yet, but I would love an edge rusher. I would love also. I think Peter Woods also. I don't know if he'll be there at 14. David Bailey from Texas Tech is someone I think could be a good option. Keldrick Falk, edge from Auburn, I think could be a good option. I don't know though. We're gonna obviously get a lot into that in March.
CJ's asking for a mock draft already.
CJ,
I like you, CJ. I like how you're thinking.
We will get those to you guys.
It's gonna happen.
Honestly, we have a lot more subscribers than we had last offseason. So obviously it's a busier offseason than normal with the head coaching search that we have going on. But once this gets finalized, hopefully next week they hire someone, or at least
free,
or at least we know that they're gonna hire someone.
Yeah.
You could get a report next Wednesday, like Ravens are expected to hire Clint Kubiak after the Super Bowl. Like that could be something that you see. Hopefully that is at least some type of news we get next week, and then we get into free agency. We haven't talked about the Ravens roster in 2 weeks. We got to get into that. And then Zach and I do a ton of draft stuff in March and April. So
it's going to be so much fun, y'all. Oh,
so that's going to be fun. And I'm excited for you guys, our new subscribers, to see all of that content. I was halfway through shout outs when Mad Rasta gave us that super chat. So appreciate that, Mad Rasta.
Shout out.
We will definitely get into more draft stuff eventually. KP, Superior Nukes, Martavius had some good comments tonight. Fish Thick is always here. Shout out to Fish Thick. Oh, Sutton was here. Purple Rain podcast. DePlug was here. Lucas Strong, Clovel, and yeah. Oh, LAVX.
Bentley. I don't know if we said this. Haram was in here. Well, shout
out. But yeah, everyone pray for Clint Kubiak tonight when you go to bed.
Pray. Or Brady if you like Brady like us.
Yeah, just do everything you can. Just pray for an offensive head coach. Okay. They don't like Joe Brady. They think we're crazy.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No, Jamie, do not. Do not do that.
Jamie,
do not pray for Anthony Weaver like you would Matt Nagy. Pray that they find a great home somewhere else.
Jamie, I'm gonna put you in timeout.
Bye, Jamie. You're kicked.
Nah.
Ban him. Mods ban him. Him.
Yeah. Pray for Clint Kubiak. And do it every day. Do it every minute of every day. And hopefully that ends up happening. Anyway, guys, we really appreciate it. Like the video, okay? Like the video. If anyone right now, 22 people, if any of you 22 people right now are not subscribed, subscribe, please. Okay? I'd really appreciate it. Hit the notification bell so you know when we're live. Follow Charm City Sideline on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever social media platforms you have. And check out our other head coaching Videos. Yeah, if you guys want to learn more about some of the candidates. Yeah, momentarily. They'll be in the description. And if you do listen to us on Apple Music or Spotify, if you guys would rather listen to us instead of look at us, we are on both of those platforms. And if you do listen to us on Spotify or Apple Music, rate us 5 stars. Please and thank you. We would love that. Anyway, everyone have a good rest of your week. Zach and I might talk to you tomorrow. We might talk to you 5 days from now. We have no idea what's going to happen.
No.
And no one does. So, appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.